Hey Lee, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks.
Great to see you today. I was just explaining to everybody that you are one of the best coaches in real estate in Florida. You're the team leader of a great office of Keller Williams and also partner of Keller Williams. It's a quiet and impressive resume. Tell me first, how did you start it in real estate? Because I don't know that.
Yeah. So I bought my first house in 2004.
Okay.
Wow. So bought my first house, and my fraternity brother from college was my real estate agent. Shout out to Brian Saver, one of the top real estate agents in Maryland and the Virginia area. And so he...
Were you there or were you?
Oh, no, I was in Orlando.
Okay.
So I actually started my career in Orlando.
Ah, okay.
So I ran Division I track and cross country for the University of Central Florida.
Okay.
Graduated college in 2001, and kind of got stuck in Orlando. Orlando has or University of Central Florida is one of those universities where people who graduate there kind of gravitate and stay in Orlando. So after I graduated, I worked for the Department of Homeland Security.
Really?
I did. My job was to make sure no airplanes blew up. Yeah. So
how was that?
It was not fun. It was not fun, but it really adds fuel to the story of how I've become who I am today.
Okay.
So I was a couple years into working for DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and we was like, hey, I'm buying my first house. We're going to do this. And so I went to my buddy, and he's like, I can help you. And he let me be hands-on. He let me go in and like play on the MLS and like search. And I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever.
What a great friend.
Right? Yeah. And so this was, again, 2003, 2004. So it's like way back then. And so I'm in there and I'm like, wow, this is before Zillow. This is before Realtor.com.
Zillow didn't exist?
No, this was the only access you had.
Oh man, that was a golden area.
It was. And so I was one of the worst clients you can be. Like I was like 80 houses in. I'm like, this is like, it was fun for me. Like I was like, wow, this is so cool. And so I bought the first house, and after buying it, I realized that I was working 55, 60 hours a week, making $40,000 a year with overtime. Mm-hmm. And my buddy was crushing it, making a couple $100,000 a year. Wow. And I'm like,
back in the day,
something's got to give.
Yeah.
Right. Something's got to give. And so I asked, how do I get in this? And he said, come check out the brokerage I was at. And I went, and I was like, I could do this. All I have to do is like have conversations with people, and like the sky's the limit. Sign me up. And so I learned a model. So I got my license in July of 2005.
Okay.
So I got my real estate license in July of 2005, and I learned a model. And you're going to hear me say this a lot as we talk about growing and growth and how to duplicate results. Mm-hmm. And a model is just borrowing the best thinking.
Yeah.
And so I was shown a way to build a real estate business. Mm-hmm. And so July of 2005, I got my license, and we were in this room, 8, 10 of us. I was the oldest at 24 years old.
Wow.
And we all had an ear.
Very young crew then.
Oh, very young crew. And yet we all rowed the boat in the same direction. We all did the exact same thing every day in this company that we started with.
Okay.
And
was it a small boutique or was it a large?
No, it was a small boutique.
Okay.
It was, if looking back at it today, mm-hmm. It was really a real estate team.
Yeah.
That was under one brokerage. Uh-huh. So it's one broker, and we were really a team under him.
Okay.
But we behaved like we were individual agents.
Okay.
And my current business partner today, Ralph Goicoria,
okay, yes.
We started there. in
Oh, really?
'05.
You guys started together?
Well, in this company. Yeah.
Okay.
So interesting enough, we were in this room where there was a slanted ceiling because of the architecture of the building. And so he, since he's like 6'5", was on one side of the room. And since I'm 5'5", I was on the other side of the room because the roof slanted like this. And he couldn't stand over here. So he was on this side of the room. So anyway, it was very, very, very an interesting place. And so it was just desks side by side by side by side. And the agents had a choice. You either have a headset in an ear and an earplug in the other because you're shoulder to shoulder with other agents.
Oh, okay.
Or you had two headphones with two phones. And it was pretty cool. And so those of us that decided to have two phones, we would have our piece of paper with our numbers in the middle. And then we would, before we would get on the phones, we would highlight like green, red, or green, yellow, and one would be our left hand and the other would be our right hand. So you know which ones to dial with what line.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And so
And everything, everything that was business generated, it was through the phone. Everything was phone calls.
Yeah. Outbound. And then we would get some internet leads. I mean, they weren't internet leads then.
But no door to door.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, we were introduced to it when we would ask, call it expired. It's like we were introduced to it, but it was 95% outbound dial.
Okay.
And so
That's a very specific talent.
the first question they ask is, what's the commission split? How much do I make? And to me, it was, what do I learn?
Yeah.
Like, how fast can I absorb everything and be part of this beautiful culture at that time of just collaboration, of learning and caring and focusing on our clients and building a business. And all of this happened just in time for the market to implode. And so
That's
now 2007, it was like a sinking Titanic, a sinking boat. And so agents just started leaving to different companies. And that's how I was first introduced to Keller Williams by my first broker. And I went into his office one day and he made this like really interesting comment. And the comment was, you see this book, and he took out the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And he said, this is one of the greatest books ever written for real estate. It teaches people how to net $1 million with a business model. And you want to hear something funny? He said, I remember it like it was yesterday. Nobody at Keller Williams reads it. And that's what he said. He's like, it's written by the founder, Gary Keller of Keller Williams, but nobody at Keller Williams reads it. And so I said to him, interesting, can I have a copy? And he said, yeah. And he gave me a copy and I read it.
Okay.
And so as the market started changing.
Was he right? I mean, was it a good book?
It is hands down the greatest foundational book.
Nice.
To learn how to build a duplicatable business, how to build a lead generation business, how to run a profitable business, and how to run a organization where you hire people. All of this is foundational models inside of that book.
Wow.
And those are the 4 models that are taught in the book. The interesting part is most folks don't go to the back of the book because they start reading it and then they just, for whatever reasons, but the back of the book gives you all ways to hire people, how to build systems, how to retain, how to compensate. All of this is towards the back of the book, and yet models.
Do you know when this book was written?
2004-ish,
2004.
somewhere around there.
So it was pretty new when you got it.
For sure. And that's why he kind of took it out, and he's like, this book.
And do you think there is a difference for the application of that book today, 20 years later? Or do you think it still applies to everything?
1000% still applies today. The second model is a lead generation model. That's where things may evolve.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you still need to know how many leads you need to generate to have a certain amount of conversations, to generate a certain amount of opportunities, to then have that first model math work.
Yes.
So an evolution in that book would be simply different lead sources that have evolved over time. But the lead generation model is still that.
Yeah.
Database, data bank is the number one way to build any business.
Yeah.
And that's the second model of the book. So that hasn't changed. The third model is the budget model, which the purpose of business is profit. My favorite part of that is I always ask agents, what's the purpose of running a business? And they say making money. And I'm like, fair. And the fourth model is the organizational model, which is success through others. And so I learned this way early in my career.
Like team-wise, right?
Well, yeah. And so, we could say team and yet, that name can kind of be thrown all over the place.
Yes.
Like, what's a team? Well, if an agent has a transaction coordinator, they're a team.
Kind of a team, correct.
If they have a transaction coordinator and someone to handle all of their operations, they're a team.
Yeah.
If someone has 5 agents and it's an absolute disaster, they're a glob.
Okay.
I'm going to explain.
Yes, I would like to know.
So there's the difference between a glob and a team. A glob is a group of agents who are tied together by one credit card. Are you comfortable in what to say so that you can listen and help people by asking them questions so that they can self-discover what's right and best for them in the real estate business?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of going all back to 05, 07. I joined Keller Williams. And the reason that I had chosen Keller Williams back in 07 was because my real estate coach, which I invested in coaching within 6 months of having my license.
Okay.
It was really like 3 months. I went to my first seminar. I got my license in July. My first seminar was October.
Okay.
And I went, wow, this is awesome. It was an event in Orlando, and it was where I was exposed to people, seeing people that are closing hundreds of transactions a year. And then it's like, how do they do it? Well, they follow a model.
Yeah.
They follow a system. And then you just plug into that system, because everyone that's been in the business the last 7 years has built all bad habits.
I knew it. Yes. Yes.
And they're used to a certain way of selling real estate. And there's a saying, you can't teach old dogs new tricks.
Ah, that's a good one. I didn't know that one.
And so as the market's turning, they're like, just do this.
Yeah.
And it's speak to more people, expand your area that you service, and embrace short sales and foreclosures, because that was where that market was going. And so I doubled the amount of people I called. I expanded to all 5 counties of Central Florida, and I learned everything I possibly could about what a short sale was. And the fourth thing that we had to learn was learn what FHA was.
Okay.
Which is so interesting, because at that time, FHA was like 3 to 5% of every transaction for the last 10 years. Or since, I don't know the exact statistics, but it was a very, very small amount of transactions.
Can you explain to people what an FHA is?
So FHA is a government-based loan that was 3.5% down.
Yes.
So as the banks were failing, the number one option for securing a loan was an FHA loan, because of the amount of money necessary to purchase.
Yes.
What we saw in 2006, end of 2006, was month supply of inventory was doubling.
Yes.
It wasn't this implosion that we saw in 7, 8, 9, 10.
Exactly.
But we started seeing the trend. And so think of a grandfather clock. goes left, it goes right. Once a grandfather clock goes this way, it doesn't go back this way.
Exactly.
It has to follow through in its
way.
direction. And that's what we're starting to see here.
Okay.
Is that month supply of inventory has doubled quarter over quarter. So Q2 of 2023 and Q2 2024, we've seen a doubling of month supply of inventory in every sector. Condos is a completely different, totally different thing. And the interesting part of condos, little asterisks, is that condos that are under 10 years old are moving.
Okay.
If priced correctly.
Yes.
Condos that are 20, 30 plus years old, it's a very interesting.
Especially because most of them they have such a terrible economy. I mean, it's that also affects a lot in how people are buying, the condos or not, because if the building has a terrible economic situation, people are thinking, okay, I'm getting a new assessment for $2-3 million. I'm not going.
Piece of the market is absolutely, there will be people who are on fixed incomes that can't sustain the assessments, and there will be opportunities there to create a win-win. And that's really the way I believe every situation should be. What's the win for the person who's in a situation, and what's the win for the investor? What's the win for the next owner? And how can we create this just servant process? The Miami Board of Realtors has a 20 under 40 award every single year, where the top 20 agents under 40 years old are recognized. And I have coached 5 agents in the last 4 years.
No way.
That have landed every single year on that prestigious award.
That's super cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And again, I don't share it to impress.
It's quite an achievement, though.
I share it to impress upon that. When there's so many folks out there that have a couple years in the business, and they're turning around being prophets in this industry. And the tried and true way to be comfortable, confident, and attract people to help is simply say the same thing every time. Don't change your message, and know that the message will help. If you behave as a functionary, hey, I'm just going to open up a couple doors. Well, should that have the same compensation as a fiduciary, someone that understands how to navigate transactions, how to has negotiation skills because they've taken courses and they have a track record of experience, understands how to navigate the market, find properties that are off market, has networking opportunities to locate great deals, can keep transactions together, and has great vendors.
Yes.
So there's so many more variables than really the market of 2021, 2022, which was a market of speed. It was open up a door, write an offer. Where does that go?
Exactly.
So that's what I believe is going to be the key difference. I also believe that the Department of Justice is still going to be looking at the scenario that we're discussing right now.
In what sense?
Well, that the industry may be moving towards the buyer compensates their representation.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, look at it this way.
Or do you think the culture in the country it's so there that it's like changing hot dogs for empanadas?
Think of it like this, from a logical standpoint. In a divorce situation, does it make sense that the husband pays for the ex-wife's attorney to negotiate against them? Like, hey, I'm going to pay for the best attorney ever so that your attorney can negotiate against me in this divorce.
Yes.
Right? That makes absolutely no sense in that particular situation.
Yes.
And that's inevitably where this is going.